There we go. So again, welcome everyone. So nice to see you here. So nice to see the familiar faces and the new faces. Why don't we jump straight in? I've got some really nice best practices that I'd like to share with you today from both myself and Coach Cristy. Coach Cristy is my business partner here at Coachology, and she's an MCC certified coach with the ICF, the highest credential that you can get. And based on the companies and organizations that we've been working with over the last 10 years, working with groups, I love working with groups. Christy's much better with one-on-one coaching than I am. I love working with groups. And so based on the work that we've both done with groups over these last 10 years, I wanted to just kind of take out some of those best practices and then share those with you today. Of course, what I'm about to share with you today is also aligned with the ICF, the International Coach Federation. So whether you are already ICF certified or looking to become ICF certified, I can see a couple of ICF coaches on the call today. Welcome. Or that's your plan to become ICF certified at one point. Please rest assured these best practices are also aligned with the ICF. So without further ado, let's jump into some slides. I really want to add as much value as I can here, guys. Feel free to take screenshots if you want to as we go through the session today. Fantastic. So yeah, as I mentioned, these best practices have come from working with just some of these companies. Cristy and I here at Coachology, we've been doing this for more than 10 years. We deliver coaching and training in 15 different countries around the region. And since lockdown, we've actually been doing a lot of webinars and virtual workshops as well for our ICF program, for our NLP program, for leadership development programs for organizations. You'll be surprised, guys, if you're a coach or a facilitator or you're looking to become one, there are many companies out there that are willing to explore doing coaching and training using a virtual platform, right? So it's up to you to educate those organizations that it can be done, and it can be as equally as effective as doing it as a face-to-face workshop. And in fact, here at Coachology, normally we would be more localized in the region of Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and so on. Well, now that we're able to provide our ICF coaching program online, for example, we've had students joining us from America, Kuwait, South Africa, Europe, you name it. So don't be afraid of the technology. If you are a coach or aspiring to be one, embrace your technology. There are organizations out there that are willing to do virtual coaching and leadership programs. And we've done a bunch of these webinars over lockdown. I think we're up to maybe 20 or so webinars that we've done over the last 3 to 4 months. You can find those on our YouTube channel. I'm going to paste the link up there for you in a moment. And we also have our Facebook group, which is especially for leaders, so applicable to most everyone on the call today, called 60-Second Leadership. Just some nice quick tips and little videos and memes and things like that to help you on your leadership journey. So let me just quickly share you the links for both of those, and you can take a look at those at your leisure. That's going to be in the chat box right now. Now, also for today, guys, you know, I want this to be engaging. I want it to be interacting. So as we go through these slides today, I'm going to invite you to share what some of your best group coaching practices are. So when we do get into some of these tips and techniques and tools and strategies, please do share some of your answers as well into the chat box, and any questions that you have into the chat box as well. I have Coach Cristy sitting right beside me here. She's going to keep an eye on the chat box so I can just keep going the blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, Coach Cristy has more than 10,000 hours of coaching experience. So she's very well qualified to answer any questions that you have. Okay, so let's take a look. Today's agenda: when is a group a group? That's a nice distinction to make. Then also knowing the key distinctions between one-on-one coaching and group coaching. There are some differences that we need to be aware of. Increasing the engagement with your group, whether it's face-to-face or virtually, the principles are almost the same. And there are definitely some techniques there that we're going to share. And I definitely want to hear from you in your experiences. What have you done to increase group engagement? And we'll come to that in a moment. Brainstorming best practices, prioritizing best practices, actions and accountability, group coaching no-nos, the things that we do not do, and then hopefully much, much more as well. So I do invite you to ask questions, and I do invite you to share your answers, please. So as I mentioned, these group coaching principles that we're learning today, they are aligned with the ICF, the 11 core competencies, and also the code of ethics, as well as some of the best practices that Cristy and I have developed over the last 10 years. So if you are aiming to be ICF certified or already are, please rest assured what you're learning today, you'll be able to apply into your coaching practice. So when is a group a group? There's only three very simple distinctions that determine when is a group a group. There needs to be 2 or more people, right? One person is not a group. 2 person or more becomes a group, but no more than 15, right? So it needs to be less than 15. This is especially important if you are an ICF coach looking to add up your hours on your log sheet to become ACC, PCC, or MCC certified. If you're doing any more than 15 people in a group, they don't call it a group. Now we're calling that a facilitation or a workshop or a training. So more than one, so between 2 and 15 people. And the other main distinction of a group is that they're working towards a common goal. You can't really have a group where there are different goals being worked on at the same time. Now, what you might do, you might have a room full of 30 people, and then you split them into some smaller groups, and now that group is working on a common goal. Well, that's okay. So that particular group is working towards a common goal. So they're the 3 main distinctions that I can think of that actually defines what is a group. Now, there are some key distinctions between one-on-one and group coaching. Now, when I say one-on-one, let me clarify there a little bit. One-on-one coaching can be life coaching, there can be executive coaching, leadership coaching, relationship coaching, however you want to call it, is where there's one coach and one coachee. Regardless of the style of coaching, this is what we mean by one-on-one coaching. Group coaching is a group of people between 2 and 15 people in the group working towards the common goal. So firstly, before we get into the distinctions, let's identify what is the same, right? So what coaching principles are the same, whether it is one-on-one coaching or group coaching? There must be some kind of similarity, especially as we have our coaching hat on. So what is it that is the same? And this is an opportunity, guys, if you have some thoughts on what else might be the same, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, I invite you to share that into the chat box, please. So one thing is for sure, guys, having, between Cristy and I, we've certified maybe, 400 coaches here at Coachology in both ICF and NLP. And one thing is for sure, the best coaches that we've certified out of those 400 people, they are the coaches that are open-minded, that are curious, and that are humble, right? What do I mean by humble? Being humble is the opposite of having a big ego and look at how smart I am or look at how good I am. Generally speaking, that is not a good quality for a coach. So whether you're doing one-on-one or group coaching, please, please, please continue to be open-minded, be curious, right? Because how can we know better about the client or the client's situation than they do? They are the expert in his or her life. So be curious and open-minded and be humble, right? That's just an amazing 3 qualities you want to have as a great coach. Secondly, is we support the coachee, right? Whether it's one or whether it's a group, to clearly articulate the goal for the session. So on one-on-one coaching, the coach does not tell the client or the coachee what their goal is. They need to come up with that themselves. But guess what? It's the same when working with a group as well. Now, I'll cover there's a little bit of a gray area there, which I'll come to in a moment when it comes to group coaching. But please rest assured is that you want the group or the individual, they need to do the work. They need to choose their outcome, right? That way they take ownership and responsibility for it. So that's the same whether it's individual or group. Third point is as the coach, as you're leading the session, we create a safe space for the coachees to be open, right? To be honest and to be flexible, right? Because think about it. Generally, they have engaged you as the coach, whether it's one-on-one or as a group, because they're struggling in a certain area of their life or business. If everything was sunshine and rainbows, they would probably not hire you as a coach. So generally speaking, that means there's something that they're not doing or something that they need to do in order to achieve their goal, whatever that goal might be. So your job is to support your client or clients to be open-minded, right? To be honest and also to be flexible, right? To be open to learn new things about themselves or the situation. The fourth point is we do not tell our coachees the solution. Whether it's one-on-one or whether you're doing it as a group, we empower the coachees to come up with their own solutions. If you're telling them what to do, you're no longer coaching. That is something else. You might call that consultancy. You might, if you're the leader in the team, that might just be part of your general leadership where you need to tell them what to do. But guess what? As soon as you tell them what to do, you are no longer coaching, right? Therefore, it's not aligned with the ICF code of ethics. So this is a really important point, is that we never, ever, ever tell the coachees the solution. And number 5, we honor the coachees as being whole, resourceful, and creative. So as a coach, we need to believe in our clients, sometimes even more than they believe in themselves. So we don't have this attitude that they're broken or that they need to be fixed. We don't come in with that attitude as a coach. No, we must believe that they are whole and complete, that they're resourceful, right? That they have the solutions within them and that they are creative. Our job is to try to elicit those solutions from the client without telling them, right? Anything else, guys? Please, if you have any other ideas or input on what is the same between coaching one-on-one or coaching a group, please pop that into the chat box now. I'll keep moving on, and Cristy will acknowledge those. Now, one thing is for sure, guys, at this point, and this is also the same, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And this is especially important if you're a leader inside of the organization, or you're a leader in your own organization, your own business. Coaching is a return on investment of your time. So this is especially true if you're a leader in the organization, you're looking to implement coaching principles into your leadership role. Coaching takes time, right? It's easy to tell people what to do. Yeah, go and do this and go and do that and hurry up and do this. But if you're telling them what to do, you're not empowering your teams to come up with their own solutions. So once you start to shift that focus from telling people what to do to asking questions, to eliciting those responses and solutions, especially in the early days, that's going to take some time. So I want you to think that any coaching that you're doing with your teams, right, internal coaches, this is an investment of your time. So just like an ROI of money, right? If you give me $1,000 and I give you back $5,000, that's a good return on investment. Coaching is the same with your time. So when you're starting to do one-on-one coaching with your teams, or when you start to do group coaching with your teams, it's going to take some time. And I want you to invest that time knowing that in the near future, you will get a return on that investment. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And I've covered this topic in detail on some of those other previous webinars. So take a look at our YouTube channel if you'd like to expand on that some more. So let's take a look at some of these key distinctions now. So one-on-one coaching, we never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever tell the client what to do. In one-on-one coaching, we only ask questions, right? And there are some really simple and powerful questions you can ask. You can get yourself ICF certified and follow a specific framework to help you get more powerful results more quickly. But one thing is for sure, we don't tell them what to do. If you're telling them what to do, you're doing something else, and that's not coaching, and that's not aligned with the ICF. The second point on one-on-one coaching, the coachee always determines the outcome for the session, always. So as the coach, you don't tell them what their outcome is. You do not tell them what their goal is. The client is responsible for that. The coachee is responsible for coming up with their outcome, their goal for that coaching conversation. And this is super, super important, especially if you want to be aligned with the ICF coaching principles. Yeah. Third one is we respect the coachee as an expert in his or her life and situation. So if you have been, you might have been a leader for 20 or 30 or 40 years. You may have even dabbled in some consultancy at some point, and you've kind of learned some of these coaching principles and you think, yeah, I'd like to become a coach. One of the biggest challenges you'll have is if you've been a leader for many, many years, or you've had that consultant hat on, is to not tell them what to do, right? As a coach, we must bite our tongue. So what that means is, as we, the coach, are open-minded and curious, we respect that the coachee is whole, resourceful, and creative, and that they are the expert in his or her life, right? And then we must trust, we must have that belief that they have the resources within them. And then finally, we do not offer a solution, right? We do not offer a solution. You're not coaching if you're telling them what to do, so we don't do that. Group coaching, what are the distinctions here? Okay, so this is coming back to the point I touched on a moment ago when we're working towards like a common goal. In group coaching, it might be possible if you've got the group, if you've got the hat on as the coach, you may share what the purpose of this group coaching conversation is. Now, this is especially true if you're a leader within the organization. Let's say you have a group of people, or you've got 10 people in your team, for example. Then in that context, when you're doing group coaching, you may schedule the session and you might share the purpose or the intention of that group coaching conversation. So differently, where in one-on-one coaching, the client always determines the outcome. If you're a leader facilitating a group session, you might say something like, okay, team, thanks for joining us all today. The purpose for today is to get clear on our yearly target for next year. Now, at that point though, you stop telling them what to do, right? All you're really doing is kind of setting a framework about what is about to happen. And in fact, it's very, very important when you're doing group coaching is to inform the group what is the purpose of this conversation. If they don't know why they're all gathered there in the meeting room or wherever you've decided to have the session, if they don't know why they're there, if they don't know the purpose, they will tune out, they will not participate, they will not be engaged. Now, here's the thing. As the leader, you might know what the yearly target is for next year. For example, you, the leader, you've got a big boss, and your big boss says, okay, Mr. Luke, here is the target for 2021 for your department. I want you to achieve this target. Off you go. Now, you've got two options at this point. You can gather your team together and you can say, okay, team, I've just been given the goal from the big boss and we're going to work on this, right? I'm not sure if that's so effective. You may want to structure that conversation something like this. Okay, team, thank you all very, very much for joining me today. The purpose of today's conversation is for us to create and get clear on the goal that we want to achieve for 2021. Now, remember, you have a guideline from the big boss. So you want to steer the conversation without telling them what to do. You want to steer the conversation towards that outcome that your big boss has given you. But guess what? That stays in your pocket, right? And then you want to elicit from them. You want them to take ownership of the goal, of the outcome. Now, will you need to be like, will you, the leader, will you need to be highly motivated in a high energetic state? Absolutely. Will you want to perhaps remind them of all the successes they had in the last 12 months and how much of an awesome team that they are? Absolutely. And will that take more time? Absolutely it will. But rest assured, when you get the buy-in, when they agree on the goal, and yeah, you might need to encourage them to bump it up a little bit higher so it matches the big boss's goal, there'll be a lot more buy-in. Plus, you'll get to identify any concerns or blockages that might prevent the team from achieving that goal as you're kind of going through the process together. Make sense? Cool. The other thing that's different when you're doing group coaching is you'll need to establish group rapport. Now, this happens at two levels. Number one, you, right, the coach, you need to have rapport with the group, right? So rapport simply means a trust and respect. But guess what? You also need the group within the group to have a group rapport. What do I mean by that is if that group that you're working with, if there are toxic people in that group, if there's a high level of distrust, if they don't talk, if they don't communicate, if everyone is sitting around like this, it's going to be a very difficult session for you to facilitate as a coach. So one thing is for sure, and you'll need to pull out some of your other techniques out of your toolbox that won't be traditional coaching in order to get the group to create some kind of synergy where they have a group rapport. For example, a little bit of an icebreaker. For example, sharing some of the successes that they had in the last couple of months. So one thing is for sure, you need to have rapport with the group and the group needs to have a level of rapport with each other in order for the group to come up with the best solutions. Make sense? As the coach, you're kind of like facilitating the session by, you're going to follow a framework and you're going to be asking questions. So, which is very similar to one-on-one coaching. You'll probably have a framework if you're already a certified coach or you've learned some coaching framework in the past. You'll probably follow that framework to support your one-on-one clients to get results. Yes, it will be similar with the group coaching, but you are facilitating the process in that you're kind of helping the group, you're leading the group a little bit more directively towards their outcome. So what do I mean by that? If you just leave it to them to do themselves, to manage their own energy and to figure it out all by themselves, it'll take a lot longer. So as you have a framework for group coaching, you kind of lead them through that process, but still following the coaching principles of not telling them what to do. The brainstorming, the prioritization, the actions that they're going to take, the accountability, that is all decided by the group, not by you. They're going to hire you so that you can get them towards that outcome in a shorter period of time. Why? Because they've tried to do it internally before and it doesn't work. And they tried to do it internally before and it doesn't work. And so then they're going to hire you to come in and facilitate these group coaching sessions. Why? Because you're experienced, because you've done it before, because you have a framework, and because you're ICF certified. Make sense? And we encourage all group members to contribute, right? So you know, and we've all, I'm sure, either been part of a brainstorming session or we facilitated one, and there's always a couple of people that are a little bit shy and they kind of sneak off to the corner because they don't want to contribute for whatever reason. Well, your job as the facilitator, as the head coach leading this process, is you do want to make sure that everyone contributes, because sometimes that quiet person, that shy person, often they have a nugget of gold, a brilliant idea sitting in their pocket. So it's up to you to really encourage them, everyone in the group, to contribute towards the success of that common goal. And once again, we do not offer a solution. Are there any other distinctions, ladies and gents? Can you think of any other main differences that I may have forgotten to put on here based on your experiences that could highlight the difference between group coaching and one-on-one coaching? Okay. Okay, so coaching, okay, this is a great question from Zed. Thank you, Zed. Coach E's stuck at their current level with their existing action. If we don't tell them what to do or to change, the Coach E will deliver the same result like last time. Are we still not to offer a solution? We are not, by ICF principles, if that's your outcome, is no, we do not offer a solution. Now, in a leadership environment, if you are the leader and you are facilitating a group coaching session with your team, you want to do your best. You want to spend 95% of your time trying to elicit the solutions from your team. Now, they might be coming up with the same action plans as before. So you would need to catch that, and you'll say, okay, team, thank you for sharing. This is the same actions that we used in the last quarter. And as a result, we did not achieve our target. So we need to do something new. What other new ideas do you have? Now, if there, again, now this is in a leadership context, you're the leader of a team, you're implementing these coaching principles. You're going to spend 95% of your time, maybe even a little bit more, to really try and elicit the solution. If they really, really, really get stuck, and it's within your team, and of course you want them to get results because then they look good, you look good, everybody wins, then you might offer a solution disguised as a question, right? So it's what we call a little bit of a leading question. You're not telling them directly, you're giving them a little hint, a little breadcrumb towards a possible solution. A possible solution, because we need to remember, guys, we don't know everything as the leader. So, and it must be a team effort, a group effort, if you truly want to get everyone in the car driving in the same direction. So my suggestion there, guys, Zed, would be to first, you can give them a little hint, a little clue wrapped up inside of a question, right? So for example, what might that question sound like? You might say something like, and you've tried everything else, and you might say, hey, team, great job so far. We're doing really, really good, right? You always want to give them positive reinforcement, always. Then you might say something like, hey, you know our competitor, that AB Solutions company, what was it that they did last quarter that was very, very effective? I can't remember what it was, guys. Can you remember what that company did that was really, really effective? Right? And then, I don't know, if they need to do a Google research, they need to check that people's website. Will it take a little bit of time? Yes, but guess what? They will discover that, and then they're going to go, oh yeah, this is it, boss, this is it here. And then you say, well, what do you think? Is that something that you would want to consider in our action plan? And then they'll talk together. So you've given them a hint without telling them directly. That still gives them the win. They still feel the pride. They still feel the sense of accomplishment that they came up with the idea. The creativity flowed through them. And that's very, very encouraging. Now, if that still doesn't work, might you want to tell them something a little bit more directly at the very, very end? Absolutely, especially if it is your team. Now, the only other thing that I'll say on that, again, according to ICF principles, if your coachee gets really, really stuck, you may ask permission to share a point of view, but you must ask permission first. And if the client says, no, thanks, I don't want to hear it, then you need to zip it and not say anything. So you ask permission first. If they say yes, then you can offer a point of view, not the solution, a point of view. And I want you to do that like this. You offer your point of view, you just kind of pop it in the middle of the table, so to speak, and you have zero attachment to it. What do I mean by that is if somehow they say, oh, thanks, coach, but no, we don't like that. It's not your time to get your ego inflated and say, but no, trust me, guys, this will really, really work. No, you don't do that as the coach. So without attachment and with permission, you can offer a little something. And again, it could be wrapped up in a question. And then you let them decide if they want to implement that action or not. Cool. Thank you, Cristy. Cristy's answering some questions there as well. All right. Any other distinctions, guys? If you have any distinctions, please pop them into the chat box for the benefit of everyone, please. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. This is often the time where you will get called in to facilitate a group coaching session because they want to do something different. So how to be creative, change the environment, right? If you are the leader and you're looking to facilitate this with your team, take them off site. Go to a hotel room or a cafe, or just change the environment can be a really, really good way to get more creative. Combine existing concepts, ideas, or things. Look at the competition. How do they do it in Vietnam? What's going on in Singapore? What is something happening in another industry that we can use in our industry? Think outside the box. What would your role model suggest, right? This is a really powerful question when you're facilitating some of these group coaching. You can ask yourself, hey, your favorite boss from before, what would he or she recommend you do? What solution or action would they recommend? Break up your routines a little bit, and then write down all of your ideas when they come up. You'll be surprised when your ideas pop into your head. Make sure you've got either your phone or a little notebook and notepad to capture those creative ideas. So I've got a lot of points here, guys, on how to increase engagement with your group. I would love to hear some of your thoughts as well, please. So please do share them into the group chat box. So as we've already mentioned, change the environment, right? It can be really, really powerful and effective to take your group and take them into a different environment. You, as the lead coach, you want to be in a high energy state, right? So, you know, whenever I'm leading group coaching sessions, I'm not walking in like this. Hi guys, how are you doing today? Awesome. Let's come up with some really powerful ideas. No. Clearly, I'm not going to lead with that kind of energy, that kind of emotional state. So if you're kind of facilitating, or you're the lead coach, or you're the leader, whatever you are, make sure you're in a very high energy state, because it'll be up to you to put energy into the group to get them more motivated. Why? Because guess what? Most of the time, a group energy environment is very flat. They're like, oh, what are we here for? Oh, I don't want to do this again. Oh, I've got to finish this other project, this report. I don't have time for this, right? So your energy is here. Oftentimes, the group is down here. So you will need to increase the energy of the group if you're serious about coming up with some good solutions, right? To support them coming up with some great ideas. Group rapport, as I've already mentioned, you need to have rapport with the group needs to have rapport with the group. And then pre-frame well. So a pre-frame is a linguistic technique, a language pattern, which is simply sharing your expectations in advance. And so, for example, you might say, okay, guys, well, the purpose or the reason why we're all here today is to da, 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 da. So you kind of want to share that purpose in advance. You want to pre-frame and say, so guys, I want us to all contribute today. I want us all working on towards this common goal that we're going to agree together. And I would love us to all contribute in some specific actions that we can take to achieve these goals. So you're basically just telling them in advance your expectation of what is going to happen. If you don't do that, it will be like herding cats, right? You know, you ever tried to get a group of cats together? You know, one is running this way, your groups will be like that. And if you give them a nice pre-frame of instructions, they will follow the instructions much better. You also need to, with your group, you need to help them articulate and identify a SMART goal. In other words, what is the goal for this coaching conversation? What is it that we're working towards, right? So this is really important. When you are helping your group decide the goal that they're going to focus on, clearly it must be towards what they want, not what they don't want. Right? So you might be facilitating one of these group sessions because there's a big problem inside of the department or the organization or whatever. That's fine. Get clear on what the problem or the challenge is. Then it's up to you to, as quickly as possible, flip that problem into an outcome focus, into a solution focus, because that is the new destination, right? Think of this solution, this SMART goal, as the GPS coordinates in Google Maps, right? If you don't have a clear destination, you're going to get lost. Well, guess what? Same with a group. If you don't have a clear outcome for that group coaching conversation, those cats are going to run off in different directions. So by having a clear solution-focused outcome, you're going to come up with much, much better actions and steps. So please tell me in the chat box, what other tips do you have for increasing engagement with your group? A few more from my side. Make sure you allow enough time, right? Don't try to rush it. Give your team the time that they need to do this properly. What actions can be completed as soon as possible? Some of the best actions are actually done inside of the group coaching conversation. So for example, scheduling a meeting, sending that quick email, doing a little bit of research for 5 minutes, having a quick phone call with someone. Any actions that you can get the group to take inside of the group coaching conversation is going to get them closer to the overall goal that they're looking to achieve, right? So you want to encourage action, and you want to encourage action sooner rather than later. Sometimes when you're doing group coaching, let's say you do have a big group of, you know, maybe 14 or 15 people, sometimes that can get a little bit more challenging to manage. Sometimes people might be a little bit more shy to open up because there's another 14 sets of eyeballs looking at them. So in those situations, you can split out into smaller groups of 3 or 4 or 5 people. What generally happens then is people are more open to share, right? And then so in their mini groups, they come up with some actions or solutions or whatever. And then you get them all back to a main group, and then you get them to share some of their key points. And in fact, this can be a really powerful way to get even more potential actions, right? Works very, very well virtually as well. Ensure that everyone contributes, right? We mentioned that already. Share recent wins. So this point here, it might be something that you do at the beginning of the group coaching conversation. And I saw a question in the chat box a moment ago, how can we help create more group rapport? This is a really, really good way, right? So what do I mean by that? You've done your pre-frame, you've shared the purpose of why everyone is here for the next 3 hours. And then you might say, okay, guys, listen, before we get started, why don't we quickly review the last 12 months? What was it that we did together as a team that was really, really good? right? Take 1 minute and go ahead and write those down yourself, right? And you let them think and you let them write down. And then you say, great, who would like to share, right? And then you'll go around the group and then you'll capture all of the wins that they had for the last 6 months, 12 months, pick a time frame. And then you'll write all of those down on a flip chart. So a couple of things happens there. It increases their energy. It helps build the group rapport. And they get reminded that, holy cow, we actually did some really good stuff, right? So now their mindset is in a much, much better place to deal with the rest of the group coaching conversation. No, we're going to keep moving through the slides, guys. I am recording this session. I will be uploading it to YouTube. We've got a lot to get through, so you can catch it on YouTube later. One thing you want to consider, guys, is dealing with troublemakers in advance, right? What do I mean by that? Is, again, this is if you are a leader in an organization and you've begun to implement coaching principles in as part of your leadership journey, and you know that, Billy has a pretty strong ego. Billy likes to talk a lot, and Billy likes the sound of his own voice. And from past experiences, you know that Billy dominates the conversation, which of course does not help those other more shy or reserved people to contribute. So my suggestion here is, before the group coaching starts, you pull Billy aside and you stroke Billy's ego a little bit. And that might sound something like this. Billy, I love your passion and enthusiasm for sharing and contributing your ideas in these group sessions. And for today, I'd like to try something a little bit different. Because Billy, you share all of the good ideas, and I know that you know the solutions to all of these problems. Today, Billy, I would like to give the rest of the group a little bit more space to be able to share their ideas. So please work with me for today. Let's try it out. Please take more of a backseat role in today's session to allow the others to contribute a little bit more. Would that be okay, Billy? 99% of the time, someone would say, yeah, sure, yeah, no worries. Yeah, you can come to me if you get stuck, right? And then you say, yes, Billy, I'll come to you if we get stuck, right? Now, Billy can't help himself. And you start the session and Billy starts going off again, and you look at Billy and you say, Billy, we spoke about this. And he'll say, okay. Right? So if you know that there's going to be a troublemaker, have a conversation with them before the session starts. The chances are it'll be much, much smoother. So let's keep moving, guys, for some brainstorming best practices. So again, you're going to use the pre-frame here, which is sharing your expectations in advance. So when it does come time to do the brainstorming, right? So you've probably already helped the group articulate the goal. You've helped them make it a SMART goal. And then now you're beginning to come up with some possible actions that they can take. We call that brainstorming. So you'll say something like, okay, team, we're about to do some brainstorming in a moment. Please rest assured that this is a safe space. For this brainstorming, we're all on the same level. There are no bad ideas. Our ego is checked outside the door, and I'd really love everybody to contribute. So again, the pre-frame is sharing your expectations in advance. No judgment, okay? There are no bad ideas. There are just ideas, right? Think about it. If, you're working your way around the room and Mary contributes, and even Billy is contributing a little bit, he's controlling his ego, and then there's Sam and there's David, and everyone's contributing. And then here's Mary, and Mary shares her idea. And then you go, oh, Mary, oh, what a terrible idea. I'm not even going to write that down. Clearly, we don't do that, right? That is a judgment. And if you place that judgment on one of the team members, they will never, ever open their mouth again in any form of coaching or brainstorming in the future. So all you want to do is gently encourage everyone when they do share an idea. Thank you. That's a good one. Awesome. Thanks very much. Yes, good one. Okay, one more. Okay, thank you. Right? So you want to keep it positive. You want to keep the energy up. You want to write quickly, right? So if you're facilitating this group session, it's totally okay for you as the lead coach to write these answers down on the flip chart. Why? Because then it can help them be thinking about ideas, and you want to do it quickly, right? So when Cristy and I facilitate, when we're doing group coaching, I put a little bit of pressure on because I want them to get beyond their conscious level of thinking, and I want them to dig a little bit deeper into their subconscious. That happens with speed, right? So as you get, okay, quick, one more. They'll, and then they'll say something, and then you'll say, oh, nice, right? Because they've got their conscious, logical, analytical mind out of the way. Now they're coming up with creative, out-of-the-box solutions that they may never have thought of before. Include an outsider when possible. That's why they're going to hire you as a coach to come in and facilitate their group coaching sessions, because what they have been doing has not been working. Now, this is really important, guys. Brainstorming and prioritizing are two very, very different processes. Most brainstorming, when you're doing it with a group, is a total train wreck, right? Because people are trying to prioritize during the brainstorming process. What does that sound like? It simply sounds like a discussion. So guess what? As people are coming up with brainstorming ideas, as soon as two or more people start having a discussion about one of those points, what they're really trying to do is validate the importance of that idea. Well, number one, that's a judgment. Number two, that is now prioritizing. So they're trying to say, oh, my idea is better than that idea. That discussion is not healthy in the brainstorming section. That comes later. So when you're facilitating this, if the members of the group start to have a discussion, you will need to say, hey, guys, we'll come back to that in a moment. For now, keep giving me your ideas. There are no bad ideas. I want the good ones, the small ones, the medium ones, the short term, the long term, the medium term. Give them all to me. Let's keep going. Let's get them up here on this flip chart, right? So as soon as they're having a discussion, they're actually in the prioritization mode. And that's what you would do after you fill 2 or 3 or however many pages on your flip chart or your virtual flip chart. It's the same thing. Now you want to prioritize. How? Well, as we just discussed, you want to focus on the brainstorming first and keep these two processes very separate. And then you basically want to use some kind of democracy. What do we mean by that? You get them to take a vote. Who thinks this idea is good? Who likes this one the most? Which one is going to get us closer towards our goal, right? So you want to ask questions like that, and you want to get the group buy-in. Now, at this point, there might need to be a discussion about the importance or the relevance of this priority over that priority. Your job as the lead coach is to make sure that those discussions are respectful and that you allow people to express themselves, to share something that they might know that the rest of the group does not know. So again, as you're kind of facilitating this process, remember, they're the ones that are doing the work. You're providing a framework to help get the results as quickly as possible, but no quicker, right? You need to, it's their goal. It's their team. You can't tell them what to do. You're going to provide this framework, this process for them to follow to come up with the best and most powerful solutions that they will decide. Now, sometimes some of those ideas that they come up with are what we call like a mid-sized chunk. So sometimes when you're doing some of these brainstorming and prioritizing, you'll need to get down even deeper into specific actions that can be done or delegated. Now, finally, you'll move to actions and accountability. So you will have done all of this stuff with them, and then you want to put it into some kind of action plan. This is an action plan that I use when I'm working with organizations. You can see there, you've got the SMART goal, some reasons why achieving the goal is important. You've got the 3 key strategies, which are those mid-level chunks we talked about before. So for example, one might be the marketing plan. And then we know marketing plan, that's not something that can just be done or delegated, right? If we look at that first square there on strategies, that might be the marketing plan. Well, clearly there are going to be some specific actions that need to be taken in order to create a successful marketing plan. So this is what I mean by chunking down. Now, most importantly, guys, when it comes to action and accountability, is who is going to do it and when are they going to do it? And my tip here is to try to allocate a specific person, right? You know, John, Mary, Frank, whoever it's going to be, and be sure to spend the time necessary to come up with a specific date by when, right? Don't just write, you know, October 2020. There are 31 days in October. There's a big difference between if you take that action on number 1 of October versus the 31st of October. So again, as you are the lead coach facilitating this, whether it's your paid client or whether it's your own department, be sure to put a specific date, right? 15th of October, 2020. And as much as possible, put specifically who is going to do that. And if that's 2 or 3 people, then that's okay. You list down those 2 or 3 people that are going to work on that, that action specifically. Make sense? Right? Now, this little action plan that I'm showing you here, it's in chunks of 3. This is how the human mind works. We think 1, 2, 3, many. So these chunks of 3 make it really, really easy to come up with an effective action plan. And you, as the coach or the leader of that department, it's really, really easy for you to follow up, right? You say, okay, team, great. It's been 2 weeks since I saw you last. Please pull out your action plans, right? And everyone will pull out their action plans. And then you'll say, okay, tell me, how did you go with your action plans? What did you get done? What is still pending? Or what did you have challenges with, right? So again, you're facilitating a process. At no point are you telling them what to do. They're doing the push-ups. They're doing the work. So in that sense, you're fully aligned with the ICF principles. Group coaching, no-nos. No. How am I going for time? 6 minutes. Awesome. Do not judge the coachee, whether it's an individual in the group or whether it's multiple people in the group. If you do have a troublemaker in the group, try to address it with them directly and personally. Don't do it in front of the group, right? Pull them aside quietly at the break, or address it before the coaching conversation, or address it after the coaching conversation. Don't judge them in front of anyone. And those people that, you know, their idea isn't very good, again, don't judge them in front of the group, all right? Because if you do, they'll never open their mouth again. Don't play favorites, right? What do I mean by favorites? And this is especially true for the leaders in the group who are wanting to implement these coaching principles. You know, everyone's contributing, and then Mary's your favorite. And you say, oh, Mary, that is the best idea I've ever heard, Mary. Oh my goodness, Mary, you are amazing. Don't do that in front of the group. It's not, you know, people would say it's not fair, right? So, and it's just not nice, right? You as the facilitator of the process, whether you're a paid coach leading the process or the leader of the team, you don't want to play favorites. Treat everyone with equal respect. A big no-no is being unclear. So if you're not clear on the purpose, if you don't do a clear pre-frame at the beginning, if you don't give clear instructions, you'll be back to herding cats, right? So as soon as you are unclear, it becomes unclear for everyone else. So be sure to be clear, follow your process, follow your training, okay, and give clear instructions so that everyone knows what they're doing. Don't rush, okay? Yes, you want to encourage them to write quickly. Yes, you want to, what I love to do is I say, okay, guys, you got 15 minutes. And they look at each other and they go, shit. And then they start working. Now, I know that it's going to take longer than 15 minutes. So when they're doing this thing for 15 minutes and they're really in it, then I'll say, okay, guys, you're doing really, really good. You're doing so good. In fact, I'm going to give you another 15 minutes. Keep going, right? So it's this kind of, it puts a little bit of gentle pressure on. They're still doing the work. I've never told them at one point what to do in terms of the solution or the actions. What I'm doing is I'm helping them to be more productive. All right. So yeah, you can use that strategy. Having said that, you want to take as long as it takes, as long as they need to come up with their little action plan. And it's better, guys, to come up with the action plan inside of the session. Again, over the years, I've tried all different models to see what works. I'll say, okay, guys, do your action plan and then email that to me next week. Doesn't work with every group. Better that they do it inside of the session. It's a no-no. Don't tell them the solution. That's not your job. You're providing a framework and a process. Do you guys have any suggestions, right? What else is a no-no in your experience when you've either been part of a group coaching session or you have facilitated? What's a big no-no that you have experienced before? Please pop it into the chat box. And then just to wrap it up, guys, for today, there are some really, really great and powerful questions to ask as you're going through these group coaching sessions. As I just mentioned, quick guys, one more. I love to put just a little bit of pressure on to encourage them to think quickly, to get beyond their logical, analytical mind, because they're just going to come up with the same stuff that they've done before. What if it were easy? Is a really nice question to get them thinking a little bit differently. What would she recommend? That favorite role model, that mentor, that boss that they had before, what would she recommend? What else, guys? And this is a question, is the what else, right? When I'm eliciting the brainstorming from the group, what else? But please tell me, do you have any favorite questions? Please pop it into the chat box now. If you have any favorite questions that you love to ask, I would love to hear them. Okay. Oh, this is a really good one, guys. When they have come up with the action plan, and let's say you still have some time, right? This is a magical question that you can ask. It's kind of like preventative maintenance. You say to them, okay, team, well done. This is an amazing action plan. Great job. Do you have any concerns on completing either the full action plan or a specific action that they've come up with, right? And what you're looking for is a level of congruency. So what do I mean by that? You ask the question, any concerns if completing this action? They say, nope, no concerns, boss. We've got it. That's pretty congruent. But if you ask the question, any concerns on completing this action? And they say something like, well, no, it's okay. Well, that's not very congruent. So you as the coach will want to dig a little bit deeper and find out what's behind the tonality that they were just sharing just now to try and identify, oh yeah, well, boss, now that you ask, this action, it involves another department, and I'm not sure how willing they are that they're going to help us. And then you'll say, wow, amazing. Thank you for sharing. So what is one way that you could get that department to be more supportive of this action, right? So what you've done is you've taken their concern, you've flipped it into a question, and you're going to get them to solve their own problem in advance, right? Not a week later when they come back and say, oh, sorry, I didn't do that action. You're preempting those problems that might occur. And finally, I know you don't know, but if you did know, that's a really, really good question when you're doing the brainstorming process. Cool, guys. Do you have any other questions that you love to ask? No, all good, all good. Fantastic. And oh, just one more, just one more. Just give me one more, guys. What if you had one more? I love to ask that when I'm doing the brainstorming with a group. And I did get one more from everyone. Oftentimes, guys, that very last little idea that they share is the little nugget of gold. So guys, thank you all very much for today. Listen, I would like to invite you to our ICF Leadership Coaching Certification. It's a full virtual program, sharing and learning everything that I've shared with you today in a lot more time with a lot more practice on number 26 and 27 of September. It's full virtual, so you can join us from anywhere in the world. It's a 65-hour ACSTH program, which is the first step towards your ACC credential. It involves about 15 hours of pre-study. You join us live virtually on 26 and 27, and then there's some virtual group coaching afterwards. And just for this session, we have a very, very special investment. I don't need a hotel for this one, so I'm happy to pass my savings on to you. Just 50,000 baht just for this session on 26 and 27. I will email the details through. Whether you are already a coach, whether you are aspiring to be a coach in the future, or whether you are looking to become ICF credentialed, or perhaps you're a leader or business owner wanting to bring in some of these coaching principles into your leadership team, then please come and join us for that. I will be sharing this recording today to YouTube. I will send you all an email a little bit later with the access to that, as long with a special offer for this upcoming program. Thank you all very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see you all. Thank you all very, very much. And we will see you all next time at the next webinar. Now, this will be, I'm having
Thank you very much. See you next time.
Not until about 1
See you
month
next time.
from now. So please come and join us for the ICF program so you can learn everything we covered today even more. We're an open book. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, Luke.
Thank you. Sadek, hey. Good to see you, brother. Thank you. Gunnar, take care, my man.
Hey.
See you soon, Gunnar. Bye for now.
Bye, Luke.
Hey, Volkmar. Thank you, thank you, thank you.